one thing I realized is that mentors do not only come in human form, sometimes they can come in the form of a book. And one book that has truly changed my perspective is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it was actually my May read. So basically, The Four Agreements is a book that is rooted in ancient Toltec wisdom, and it essentially teaches us how many of our emotional struggles come from unhealthy beliefs, assumptions, fear, and conditioning. The book encourages us to live more consciously, peacefully, intentionally, and truthfully. Now, one of the agreements is to be, well, I don't know if it's the first one, but one that I remember is to be impeccable with your words and how your words have so much power, and that we can create our heaven and our hell just based on what comes, out of our mouth. It encourages us to speak with integrity, that our words create reality. And even though those are things we know, even from, I grew up Christian. And so, the Bible kind of talks about this, using your words to edify and all those kind of stuff like that. But when you read books, it reinforces, sometimes what you already know, or can bring a new perspective to things. And so stop speaking negatively over yourself. Don't engage in gossip, don't engage in self-sabotage, be careful of harsh words, don't have careless speech. So your words are shaping your life, whether you realize it or not. And again, it talks about creating your own heaven or hell. That was so distinct to me because it's like, wow, and I'm an advocate for speaking positively even to yourself, calling out the things that you feel are positive about yourself, looking in the mirror and, not waiting for people to tell you, you're so good at this or you're so good at that. When you're getting ready and you're looking in that mirror, you're telling yourself these things. And so the book definitely reinforces this idea. And then another thing that I liked in the book, it says to don't take anything personally. Now this perspective changed my perspective because I related to it like so much. It talks about us going through life basically based on our experiences, our variables, our conditioning. People respond from their own experiences, wounds, beliefs, and projective. So if someone was rejected, if they were criticized, if they were misunderstood, if they have insecurities, not everything people say or do is actually about you. It's a lot to do, with them. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, because how many times do we meet people that, if you have an idea or if you have a thought, and they would try to talk you out of it, that's based on their perspective, their experience, their human experience that they've had. So they're only navigating life based on them, basically, and what they know, what they're exposed to. So now when they come to you that has a completely different, that's in a completely different realm, they're only giving you life from their perspective. So don't take it personally. If you want to keep some of what they said, keep it. If you want to reject it outright, reject it. And I love that. I was just reading that, and the book is like about 100. It was a quick read because I did it like in 5 days. It's like 129 pages. And that particular, which agreement was that? Sorry, I'm getting off course here, but is that the first agreement? Sorry, guys. Why is it taking me so long to find it? No, it's actually... Anyway, I digress. But I remember reading it and just thinking, oh my goodness, this is so powerful, because I'm sure all of us can relate to it. Like, I'm not taking it personally. I now have language to it. Like, I'm not accepting that. I'm rejecting that. So the book also talks about, signing these agreements that we would have had even before us. Our parents put us in certain systems and, we didn't have a choice in the matter, but we signed that agreement and you could make new agreements. So the 4 agreements is basically the new agreements that you make to have like a better quality of life. So not everything people say or do is actually about you. And so once you understand that, you could move through life, a little bit differently because you finally understand that, no, that's more about you than it is about me. And I love that perspective. And so another agreement was to not make assumptions. Communicate clearly instead of creating stories in your head. And me, being an overthinker, that was speaking to me, okay? Because I can make up a billion things in my head and it doesn't have to necessarily be true. And so, it talks about you create a hellish state when you're making assumptions. If you don't understand something, ask about it. Don't go and try to make up things in your head because you're causing yourself like unnecessary anguish. So I love that. And so that could speak to relationships, that could speak to anxiety, misunderstandings, fear-based thinking, overthinking. Assumptions destroy peace. And then one of the other agreements was always do your best. Don't do under what you can do. Don't do more than you can do. It's only going to lead to exhaustion if you move, into more than you can do. Just do your best, all right? Have discipline, consistency, allow yourself growth and have self-compassion. So done consistently is more powerful than perfect occasionally. I'm telling you, books are mentors. It just changed your perspective. And sometimes books can confirm what you already know but didn't have the language for, like I said earlier, or just give you a whole different way of thinking. It's like, you get that like eureka moment. So books can definitely be mentors when humans cannot. And so how this book mentors me, this book mentored me because it made me more aware of my thoughts, my reactions, my words, and even the stories that I can sometimes tell myself, all right? And so sometimes growth is not loud. Sometimes it sits quietly with the book and realizing you need to think differently. I think books are one of the most affordable forms of mentorship available to us. So I want to encourage you to read. Like I always say, I know it sounds cliche and I know that it sounds like, okay, I don't have time for books. I don't need to add another thing on my plate. But trust me when I tell you, if you're looking to change your life, if you're looking to enhance your life, you're looking to, grow, get a book, any book. Just open it up and see where it takes you. I always like to encourage people to try to read, just a chapter a day. You can start with books that are not that long and then just see how you feel about it. I'm telling you, I am addicted to learning and bettering myself. And whatever form that comes in, I want to always do that. A book is an affordable luxury. It's something that you could buy for $10 that somebody would have poured their life's work into, and you have that at your access. So don't ever feel like, oh, I don't have the time. We all have the time. Remember, according to the 4 agreements, we create our heaven and our hell. And we have to be impeccable with our words. So if you say that I don't have the time, or you're saying that, okay, I hate books, guess what's going to happen? That's going to be your reality, And so I want to encourage you to change your mindset. I want to encourage you to invest in yourself. Don't ever speak over your life that, oh, I don't have the time. What are you spending your time doing if you're not pouring into yourself? And my other videos, I talked about having hobbies and, having the things that light you up. Books can do that. And I often talk about, fiction and nonfiction. But if you want to Start with nonfiction because you feel like, okay, let me see where this goes. Start. I promise you, once you start getting into reading, you're going to be like, what have I been missing? Especially if you are like a mature adult where, you would have done the sacrificing and you would have, given to this and that and the next. I think that we all should have something that is just for us. Get the book. Just, go on Amazon, put it in your cart. If you're a library person and you just prefer to, go to the library, research. Don't take my word for it. We're in the world of modern technology now. So, go on your AI and tell them some things that you're interested in, and they're going to recommend some books to you, and go for it. Just one. If you even decide that, okay, I want to do one book a month, read one chapter every day, I promise you that you would not regret it. So that is my little sit down today. It is always my intention to inspire, empower, and educate. And I want you to live a life of intentionality and abundance. And if there's anything that would have resonated with you today, leave it with me in the comments. Let's chat in the comments, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.